What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this very quick wrap up of Married at First Sight reunion. Not reunion, Where Are They Now? Season 14, Boston. So, another Married at First Sight season is under our belts, and it was what it was. I was entertained. I did enjoy the season. I would probably give this season a B, a strong B. It did keep me entertained. It was interesting to watch the progress of some of the couples. It was interesting to see the outcome of some of the couples because it was so unexpected compared to what we had seen throughout the season. And in particular, I'm talking about Katina and Olajuwon. So Katina and Olajuwon, when they first started off in the very, very beginning, I had high hopes for Katina and Olajuwon. I thought that they were really cute together, and I thought that he appeared to have been very, very pleased with the wife that they chose for him, and she also seemed very pleased with the husband that they chose for her. And then it went downhill very, very quickly when he started with his, barbaric ideas of my wife has to cook for me every single day. I have to have a hot meal waiting for me every night when I come home from work. That's when it went completely left. And Katina just, stuck it through, stuck it through. She really didn't complain. She really didn't put up any kind of fight. She just did what her husband wanted her to do for the most part. And it really went left when he just was started like talking very down to her in a very condescending manner. I don't know what he was trying to do. I always felt like Olajuwon was testing Katina to see how far can I push her before she just gives up. And if she doesn't give up, then this is the woman for me. I always felt like that. Like his rants, his raves, him yelling at her, confronting her about dumb things like an old dating app, demanding dinner to be cooked every night. All of those antics, I felt like he was just testing her to see, if she can stand the rain. So in a way, it's not surprising that now we see this different, softer version of Olajuwon, where he talks about how, well, I saw how I was on television, and it made me really search deep within myself and make some changes. I think this is probably the Olajuwon that we see post production or post season, post regular season, the one that we saw on decision day, the one that we've been seeing in the reunion. I think that's the real Olajuwon. I think the Olajuwon that we saw during the season was just some kind of persona that he was putting up. Like I said, like he was testing her. And Olajuwon knows how to put on different personalities because he has this alter ego named Isaac. So to be a different person is nothing to Olajuwon. So hopefully the Olajuwon that we see now is the real Olajuwon. During the reunion and especially in the retreat, when they went, not the retreat, but when they went to the getaway, the Where Are They Now episode, I felt like, and I probably was looking too deep into this, but I felt like Katina wasn't her usual self. Katina, during the season, I think she had a little bit more personality. And then during the Where Are They Now episode, I felt like the light was a little bit dimmed for Katina. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm just seeing things and I'm putting too much into it. But it didn't seem like her energy was matching his energy. Olajuwon was super hyped, super happy. He had this great personality. He was doing his thing, being very sweet to her, very caring and loving towards her. And Katina showed a lot of emotion at the reunion when he presented her with the ring and she was crying and all of that. But in the Where Are They Now episode, I just felt like she wasn't as spunky and energetic and fire. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But Olajuwon and Katina are doing just fine. Now, he also talked about, the next step is for them trying to buy a home together and to start planning their family. So things are looking extremely positive for Katina and Olajuwon. Also, I wonder how Katina must feel that Olajuwon and Lindsay are like BFFs now. Because Katina went so hard for Olajuwon when she stood up against Lindsay, and then they had that huge confrontation on the boat when they were on the honeymoon. They're constantly butting heads, her and Lindsay, and now your husband is basically like Lindsay's life coach, constantly. Kind of like he's always there for Lindsay to help her get through her issues. So I wonder how Katina must feel about that. I wonder if she's completely okay with that, if it really doesn't matter to her, because Olajuwon is just like that with everybody. But Lindsay and Olajuwon coming from where they were not getting along at all, and I guess nearly came to blows at the airport or on the airplane because Lindsay told Olajuwon that he needed to speak English when they went to the Dominican Republic. From that to now, where he's encouraging her, coaching her, giving her advice. When he sees that she's kind of like about to blow up, he calms her down. He's like the Lindsay whisperer. So I guess I just wonder, like, how does Katina feel about that? Moving on, speaking of Lindsay and Mark. So, in the Where Are They Now episode, they were on their way to go see their lawyers and to sign their divorce papers, to finalize their divorce, or to get a little bit closer to finalizing their divorce, as it won't be final until the judge signs it. So, they're meeting with their attorneys, and it was very amicable. They signed the documents. There was nothing really, not much to it. It's a very short marriage. So it was a pretty easy process. And it seemed like both of them were very relieved. The lawyers had left the room to allow them to talk. And I think that's when Lindsay apologized to Mark about how she treated him. And she says, no, that's not what she told him. She told Steve this. But she did apologize to Mark. And Mark is kind of like, you know what? It is what it is. And he told her that because of you, I have improved in certain areas of my life. I have become a better man because of you. And I do appreciate that. And I'm always going to remember, the positive moments that we had together. So Mark is a real trooper for, staying positive until the very end. And Lindsay also, we have to give her much credit for stepping up to the plate and being an adult about it and apologizing. But Lindsay, you need to control that mouth. You need to control that mouth. If it's the drinking that's pushing you over the edge, please stop drinking in social settings, because you're constantly going to be doing apology tours for the rest of your life. And why do you want to live like that, where you say things very intentionally and then you got to come back and backpedal and start apologizing to everybody for how you acted and what you said and how you made them feel? Lindsay, that needs to stop. During this season of Married at First Sight, I got bored with that, of you constantly apologizing. So if I got bored with that, I know that you have to be very bored with living that way. So please stop drinking and learn to control your tongue. Lindsay is off to California to do her own thing over there. She seems like someone who would, I don't know, maybe California is what she needs. I imagine California, where did she say she's living? She's San Francisco in the Bay Area. It seems like hopefully that area will probably kind of soothe her, calm her. California seems to be so zen, especially San Francisco. Could be wrong because I've never been there. But California seems to be such a zen place, or San Francisco seems to be like such a very zen place, very chill. Everybody's chakras are balanced or whatever. So, because she came back to Boston, it seemed like she seemed a little bit better than what we had seen through the season. Mark is okay, so there was a scene in the very beginning of the episode where it was Steve, Chris, and Mark at Mark's apartment trying to fix Mark's kitty litter, I think. Kitty litter contraption. And Steve had told Mark that his sister has a friend or a coworker that was interested in getting to know Mark. And truth be told, I was like, what did that woman see in Mark that would make her go through Steve's sister to try to, be hooked up with him? Like, what exactly did she see in Mark? Because Lindsay brought out the worst in Mark. And I don't know, like, what she could have seen, unless she felt like she saw a project that she wanted to fix, like something about Mark makes her, want to fix him or something. I don't know. But Lindsay brought out the worst in Mark. So I don't think that what we saw of Mark, it was the best version of Mark. but that woman saw something. So later on, they at first Mark acted like, "Oh, I'm not ready to get back into the whole dating game. I just want to chill." But I guess after he saw her picture, he was like, "Oh, hubba hubba, yes, please set me up," because she was a very attractive young lady. So they meet up and they go out on a date, and it seemed to go really well. The lady seemed like, she liked him and that she was really interested in him. It seemed very natural. It seemed, real. It didn't seem forced. It didn't seem faked. They seemed to get along really well. And at the end of their date, they were walking off into the sunset together, holding hands. And I thought he was going to invite her to the getaway, but I guess, maybe it was too soon. But yeah, so Mark is seeing someone. Lindsay claims that she's seeing someone. Lindsay has calmed down a whole lot. She did her whole apology tour. She's looked deep within herself. So, it was good. Now, in the reunion part two, which I didn't review, but I did watch, when she did apologize to Mark when they were sitting on the couch together, and then there was a scene where Steve asked Mark, "Do you want her to apologize for anything else?" And Mark kept on saying no. And then Kevin Frazier was like, "If there's anything else that you feel like she needs to apologize for, this is the time to bring it up." So I guess what had happened was she had spit on his shirt, or she had spit on him, and it really, obviously it bothered him like it would bother anybody else. And so she also needed to apologize for that as well. But she didn't want to. I don't think she wanted to give the initial apology. And Olajuwon was there, like, coaching her, like, "Lindsay, you need to do this. This is the right thing to do. You got to apologize to him." And I was like, what is going on there between Olajuwon and Lindsay? I'm not implying anything at all. Trust and believe, I am not implying. I'm just making an observation that they went from damn near, fisticuffs on the airplane to now, like I said, he's like coaching her through all of her life's problems. So this is a better version of Lindsay. It was nice to see her soften up a little bit and to be a little bit more human and not be so vicious with her mouth. Okay, moving on from there. Um, Mike and Jasmina. This just brought more sadness to me because, like I said, Jasmina and Mike were my favorite couple for the majority of the season, like the better half of the season. I really did enjoy seeing them together, and I was always rooting for them, and I was always rooting for Jasmina to open up a little bit more towards Mike, to open up just a tiny bit, just crack that door of romance open just a little tiny bit, but it never happened. So Jasmina and Mike, evidently things got worse after decision day because they didn't see eye to eye on some issues. And both of them felt like the other one wasn't putting in enough work in the relationship. It seemed like after decision day, they did not move in together because Jasmina kept on talking about how she would always call Mike and, see how he was doing, check on him and all this and that. I was like, okay, if y'all were living together, you really wouldn't have to be calling him. So evidently they didn't end up living together at all. They still stayed in separate homes. This whole entire time, I feel like, and Pastor Cal had said it, that Jasmina treats this relationship like it's a dating relationship. Not even a dating relationship. Like she kind of sees it as, a pre-dating relationship, like still trying to make the decision if she even wants to date this guy, where it's like a full-blown marriage and you need to handle it as such. And when you're married and you have problems, you fix them, you don't end it. So she kind of treated like this was just like a potential boyfriend that wasn't meeting up to her expectations. And so, it is what it is. So they keep on talking about how between Jasmina and Michael, they keep talking about how on decision day they both came there with an agenda, and the agenda was to show that the other person really wasn't putting in the work or the effort into the relationship. And Pastor Cal did say, y'all are constantly trying to prove how much y'all wanted the relationship to work but felt like the other person wasn't putting in as much. That's so coincident. That's like so weird. Like they both talk about how they want it to work, but the other one wasn't doing enough. So, it's sad to see Jasmina and Michael end the way that they did because, there was so much potential there. And, Jasmina getting up. I kind of feel like Jasmina would get upset for the littlest things. I forgot one of the things that she was upset about with him. She gave an example of there was some type of a conversation that happened between them, but then Mike came back and said that that conversation never happened, and it did, and it got just, I don't know what it was, but it seemed like whatever the catalyst was that caused them to really break up, it didn't need to, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like they could have worked through it. It was just like a miscommunication, and instead of trying to work through it, they both threw in the towel. And they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm just beginning to wonder if both of them are like very, very, very picky, and like they both expect things to go a certain way, and if it's less than what they're expecting, if it's less than perfect, they throw in the towel and they're out of there. I don't know, but Jasmina and Mike, I felt like they really should have gone a whole lot further. Maybe Mike was just too short for her. Sometimes it's not that complicated. It doesn't have to be that complex with trying to figure out, okay, where in the timeline did it fall apart? Maybe she looked at him and she was like, he's cute enough, but he's just too short for me. I don't know. And she was just too much of a lady to say it. So at the retreat or the getaway, Mike pulls her to the side and they have a conversation. And I thought that maybe it would have ended a lot better, but it didn't. They both were not on the same page. They both saw things completely differently. They both accused the other of things that did or didn't happen. And Jasmina, she was just through. She was done, and Mike as well, I guess. And so I don't even know if they're going to remain friends. I think they kind of ended it with, well, since we share the same group of friends, if we ever see each other or hang out with each other, we'll just keep it real civil. That really broke my heart. I was like, damn, civil. Y'all were married at one time, sharing a bed. Nothing was going on in that bed, but y'all were sharing a bed at one time. And now you're talking about we'll just be civil with one another. That really was sad. Moving on from there, we have Steve and Noi. So Steve and Noi, part-time lovers, because Noi lives with her husband part of the time, and the other part she's in her own apartment. So at first she told Steve that she wasn't going to move in until he renovated the apartment or the house that he lives in, so that it could be like their home together instead of just his home his way. And to me that was kind of silly to be like, I'm not going to move in with you until you make this our home. Well, maybe if you lived there and were able to put more of an input, every day, it'll be more like our home. But anyway, she stops by whenever she feels like it. I have no idea what's going on with these people. She kept her apartment, and at first I thought she was going to say that she was going to extend her lease. But it seems like at the end of her lease, she's going to be moving in with him. In the beginning of the episode, it seemed like she really wasn't ready to move in around the timeline that they thought that she was going to be moving in. She said because there was a lot of stuff that needed to be done before she could move in. Obviously, she was just using all of this renovation stuff as an excuse to not move in. I don't know if this girl is afraid to love because she's been heartbroken so many times before, and she's worried that she's going to get heartbroken again. But that's the chance you take in everything that you do, especially when it comes to relationships and marriage. You're taking a chance, and you might win, you might lose. So all of that mumbo jumbo about, well, you have to fix up the house before I can move in. Girl, look, if you really wanted to be with your man, you would have been with him in a rundown shack if you really wanted to be with him. Evidently, being with him and living with him was not a priority for Noi. So I think at the end they decided that she was going to move in with him within 3 months. I just didn't. I mean, like, if she really, really loved him and liked him, I feel like she would have lived with him. Or she could have been using the whole I'm not going to move in with you as a ploy to probably get him to start working. Like, she couldn't say the words, if you get a job, I'll move in. So she uses this house renovation stuff as an excuse. But in actuality, I feel like she wanted him to read her mind and understand that, look, if I want my wife to live with me, I'm going to have to get a job. I feel like that's the underlying, what she really wanted underneath it all was like, she was going to not move in until he got a job. And I think she was using this whole living separately thing as a ploy to get what she wanted out of him. But I guess, either she ended up really missing this guy, or she realized he's not going to get a job the way she wants him to, even though he does have money to take care of whatever he needs to take care of in the home. So I think she just kind of gave in and was like, you know what? It's never going to happen, so I'll just move in with him. I don't know what was going on there, but I thought it was very strange that she had this hesitancy about moving in with her husband. Because if you really, really love him and want to be with them and you're attracted to him and you like him a whole bunch, why wouldn't you want to live with him? So that was weird to me. Moving on to, oh yeah, and so they've also decided that maybe, she's not like so stuck on having three children. She's possibly considering maybe two kids because they babysat Steve's nieces and they were a handful. It was three of them and it was a handful. So Noi is considering maybe, it'll be okay to have just two children. And yeah, I think that's it with Steve and Noi. Now moving on to Alyssa and Chris. So Alyssa and Chris have both chosen to try to go out with people who are on previous seasons of Married at First Sight. So like, wow. Okay. So let's talk about Chris first. So Chris, I guess, decided to reach out to Olivia from Married at First Sight, New Orleans. And Olivia was very, very sweet. On her season, I thought she was just the sweetest, most patient lady there because her husband was a real jerk, like a real jerk. And I thought he was just awful. I forgot his name, but I thought he was just awful. And it just really wasn't right that they would have put her through, that the show, the producers, whoever would have matched her with someone who was just so incompatible with her. Absolutely incompatible. So hopefully things will work out better between her and Chris. They went out on their first date together and it went well, I guess. He invited her to the getaway. And when she came to the getaway, she didn't know any of these people, but she was trying to mingle, trying to conversate and everything. And I saw nothing wrong with Chris and Olivia together. I hope that it does work out for them because they do seem a lot alike. One of the people on the show, I don't know if it was Olajuwon or Steve or who, said that she's like the female version of Chris. Very even toned people, like very down to earth. Just, I don't know. I think that might be a good match, but who knows? Your girl Alyssa really wants her a cowboy. So she found the closest thing to it in Ryan, who was on Married at First Sight Houston, which was just last season, I think. Ryan to me was a jerk. I don't know why she, like, what she saw in Ryan. I have no idea. But Alyssa's crazy. So Alyssa was so hung up on this whole cowboy thing that she couldn't look past the fact that he wore a cowboy hat and wears boots and likes to go outside and do things outside. And he's really outdoorsy and very active and does all the things that cowboys do. She couldn't even look past that to realize that this guy might not be that great of a catch because of how he treated his wife. And I forgot her name. The fact that he was already on a dating app before decision day. Like he had already made up his mind before decision day that he wasn't going to say yes to her. And he was, already on the stroll, on the hunt for another female. And the fact that it seemed like he never really tried with her. She wasn't his type. And so like from that point forward, when he realized maybe like on the wedding day, she's not my type and she's not gonna put out. So he was done with it all. I think if she would have probably, had relations with him, he probably would have tried to put in some effort because he was getting what he wanted. But I always felt like he really just wanted to get laid. That's how I always felt about Ryan and his wife on Married at First Sight Houston. That he just wanted to get in bed with her, and that was it. And so when he was like, you know what, I'm not that attracted to you, and you won't sleep with me, he checked out. But for whatever reason, Alyssa thought he was a great catch because he's got on a cowboy hat. So they go out on their. Did they go out on a date? I don't remember if they went out on a date. I think they did go out on a date. I don't remember, but I do remember. Oh yes, they did. They went. They went bowling. Yeah, they went bowling. And she was giving him the eye and everything, flirting with him heavy. And Ryan is, I remember when I reviewed Married at First Sight Houston, the thing that I would say about Ryan the most is that he was so boring. He had no personality. Because when Married at First Sight Houston wrapped, they did the whole Where Are They Now thing, and it showed him going out on a date with some brunette that he knew from back home. And the date was boring as hell. And he just has like no personality. But Alyssa saw something in him. I don't know what the hell she saw in this guy. To me, he's just so flat. He's just like, oh, not interesting at all. Not interesting. So they went bowling and she was trying to give him all these hints that she was really interested in him. And I don't know if he caught the hints and just put them in his back pocket Or if he didn't catch him at all, I have no idea. But he really wasn't like enthused about her. He didn't seem like he was interested in her. He acted like this was just something, like it was his contractual duty to go bowling with Alyssa. And so he showed up and he went bowling and he's like, okay, where's my check? That's what it seemed like to me. Like he had no interest in her. And then later on, Alyssa finds out that Ryan has been is friends with Lindsay, and she blew a gasket. So she meets with him, and she tells him, you kept this from me, that you and Lindsay are friends, and how could you keep this information from me? And I can't trust you, and you betrayed me, and this is the biggest betrayal of my life, that you didn't tell me that you're friends with Lindsay, and she's my sworn enemy. And how would it look if we went to this getaway together? Because she invited him. How would it look if we went to this getaway together, and then everybody knew that you and Lindsay were friends except me? I would look stupid out there. I mean, she put 50 on 10, not 20 on 10. She put 50 on 10 about the fact that Ryan and Lindsay were friends. And Ryan completely played it down. He was like, look, we FaceTimed a couple of times. We just banter. We've bantered a couple of times. I don't understand what's happening here. And she just kept going on about the betrayal, the deep betrayal, as if her and Ryan have been dating for 5 years and she found out that he's been carrying on with Lindsay. And it wasn't even like that. Girl, Alyssa, you and Ryan went out on one date, if you can even call it that. And you barely know each other. You met this guy one time before you confronted him about this huge betrayal. Like, what do you care if he talks to Lindsay? It's like, it was weird. Like, that was just so strange. Obviously, she's worried about Lindsay possibly brainwashing him against her, or, trying to taint his opinion of her. Obviously, that's what she was really worried about. And maybe she was also jealous, that maybe they were fooling around. But it wasn't that crucial, Alyssa. Nobody wants Ryan like that. Okay, girl, nobody wants Ryan like that. He is he's the color gray. Okay, he's boring as hell. There's nothing going on with Ryan. He is just the gray crayon in the box of Crayola, because what do you do with the gray crayon? So she completely, then after she confronted him and had this huge confrontation where she was the only one talking, he was just kind of like watching her like, are you okay? So she storms off, and then the producers are like, okay, are you doing all right? Are you okay? He was like, I didn't come here for all this drama. He's like, I don't know what the hell that woman's problem is, but I'm not here for all this drama. My contract said nothing about being berated and yelled at and screamed at and confronted like this. This was not in my contract. So anyways, at the getaway, when they all showed up at the getaway, it was what it was. It was fine. Nothing really major happened. Like I said, Jasmina and Mike had their conversation. They basically agreed to disagree about how things went down between them. Lindsay did her apology tour. She pulled Steve to the side and she apologized to him and was like, you know what? I shouldn't have said what I said and did what I did, and I'm sorry. And she did the whole I didn't have it. My intentions was never to hurt anyone. Girl, that's were your intentions when you said those words. Those were your intentions. It was to hurt. To hurt their feelings, by talking about how he doesn't work and doesn't have any money and doesn't bring any income, and how are they going to have a family based on all of that? You were hitting below the belt, and he had every right to give you the cold shoulder, and he had every right to disconnect himself from you because you're a jerk. So Steve was like, you know what? And then she did the whole, boo-hoo, the tears came out. And then Steve was like, I accept your apology and I'm glad that you apologized. But I need the action to follow up with the words. I need to see if you're actually sincere about what you're saying. And so, I don't know how he's going to see that, because she lives in California now. I guess, when they meet up once or twice a year, he'll be keeping tabs if she's really changed. And then, did she apologize to Mark again? I don't think so. But Lindsay and Alyssa never really had anything to do with each other. They never talked or apologized or nothing. It was just, there's nothing going on between the two of them. And I think that's like the end of it all. I think that's the end. Oh, Alyssa and Chris. It was so refreshing to see Alyssa act civilized because she pulled Chris to the side, and I hope that Olivia wasn't bothered because Olivia and Chris were sitting near each other when Alyssa came and pulled him away to go talk to him. And I kind of felt like I saw a look in Olivia's eye, but maybe I didn't. So she pulls Chris to the side and she's like, just want to apologize again for how things went down and, for my part in it. And it seems like you're really happy with Olivia, and I hope that it really works out between you and Olivia. She gave him a lot of encouraging words, and she did apologize, and it did seem genuine. And Chris even said in his confessional that the apology, for the first time ever in history, her apology actually seemed genuine. So they finally ended on good terms, and it was just really nice to see Alyssa act human and do the right thing for once, and interact with him in a positive way, because it had been negative since they walked down the aisle together. She had just been so negative towards him. And I don't know if it was the backlash that she received, or if the Lord just touched her spirit. And I don't know what it was, but she did a complete 360 on him, or a complete 180 on him. And I really liked that moment. And I just hope that Olivia wasn't bothered by it. But I really did like that moment. And I'm glad that Chris, was mature enough to accept her apology when he should have probably bopped her upside the head, but he did accept her apology. And it put a really cute little bow on everything, and everything turned out fine with everybody. My only disappointment was Jasmina and Mike, but it is what it is, right? It's not my relationship. I can't worry about it. But yeah, so we have wrapped with Married at First Sight. The season is over. We're looking forward to Married at First Sight season 15 in San Diego. And yeah, thank you so much. If you've joined me, if you've watched any of my Married at First Sight reviews, I truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And on your way out, rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe. If you don't worry about it. But thank you for stopping by anyway. And I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.